Good evening everyone to this, the second round of FDSR Final Drive Sim Racing League. We are joined tonight by the wonderful, beautiful Luke Dugdale, and unfortunately we are missing Mike Bullen this week due to him being on holiday at the Nordschleife and at Spa, living his best life. Dougie, thanks for coming along and helping me out this evening. Have you got any pre-race predictions tonight?
Slipping and sliding. What is what it looks like.
Absolutely, mate. I think you're right there. Oh, as we see, a perfect example of it.
I just pressed my button for that one.
Oh God, that was perfect timing. Yeah, as you can see, it is a very, very wet zolder. A lot of the guys have already mentioned that this is going to be very, very, very tricky driving conditions. You can see in the top right corner there, weather conditions wet for the next 10-30 minutes. And this is going to carry over into qualifying and the two sprint races. So yeah, slight change of format this evening. Last week was endurance, and this week we have two sprint races. No surprise to see Alex Kingston at the top in practice, Dougie?
Definitely not. And Plaza Tarash as well, following up from his good form last week. Tonks, again, no surprise there. Bakehouse, no surprise. All the guys you expect at the top are at the top, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell you what, just looking at the practice times there, Rich Arnold, P8, that's a massive,
I just noticed that myself.
Improvement. It's better compared to last week anyway, isn't it?
Definitely, I think he will come into this round doing better. I think he can do more, and he knows he can do more as well. I think that's what he'll be aiming to do. Yeah,
we both know, don't we, that he's more than capable of producing when the time comes. He's just had a torrid time in the Ferrari last season, and yeah, not quite his week last week. Let's have a look. You can see on the left of your screen there, guys, the delta to the leader. So with the wet conditions, you know, good to see the top 7 all within a second of each other, and that'll be very easily beatable for everyone. You know, when it's the wet conditions, it's very easy to almost find time. I find just as easy to lose time, but I don't know how you feel, Doug, but whenever it's dry, I feel like once you hit the peak, it's very hard to like find tenths. You end up looking for thousandths and hundredths of a second. Yeah, I don't know if it's the same for you.
No, I would agree. I think when it's dry, you can go in. I think me personally, I go in when it's dry, confident.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you can start looking for, when it's dry, it is hard to improve, and you hit your peak and you think, what can I physically do more? But I think in a wet, you know, there's always more to find. Is that different line you could take? Trying to adjust a braking point, where can you gain that extra not half a second, but you know what I mean, thousands of a second, and just try and get marginal gains each lap, and then you know yourself how annoying it is. You'll be half a second up, and then one corner, and then you're down to nothing. You've lost time.
Absolutely, mate. I'm just realising this evening that we might be missing a couple of liveries, and that is purely on me for not having access to the drop box properly. So you'll see a couple of custom liveries, but you might not see all of them, so apologies in advance. Just a heads up as well for the viewers later on. Obviously, this is recorded live. We are not live streaming tonight, so still very much a live event for myself and Luke, but not quite for the viewers. So if you're watching and something's not quite right, I can only apologise, and we'll try and fix it for next week, as we will not know what doesn't work until we send the recordings over to Mr. Foster, who we are currently driving around track with. Right, so 3 minutes left of practice. We were warned of how the puddles and certain areas of the track are going to catch drivers out. So far, looking at the steadiness of Adam Foster as he puts in a P4 time there, it looks like most of the drivers have probably become accustomed, other than the the spin. I dare say it was Prescott that we saw spinning in the Mercedes.
I think you were correct in that. Yeah.
I imagine with plenty of practice time, I know that the guys were on yesterday practicing as well. Hopefully, a lot of the mistakes that could have happened will have been ironed out now, and drivers know a little bit better what to expect. The question is, how much of the change in track conditions are going to play a part in this race? Because I don't know if we'll find this with how wet it is, but they could develop a dry line. We don't quite know yet. The track could alternatively get worse. So it could be a little bit of a minefield for the drivers in terms of setup. You know, we know tyre pressures are really critical, and no more critical than today in the wet. So we'll keep an eye out for that in our little recording session. And of course,
I was also going to say,
go on, Luke.
Is the high potential of drive-through penalties due to track limits?
Yes, that is a very, very good shout, Luke. Obviously, that all depends on gaining an advantage, but very, very good example there was of Adam, you know, sort of cutting the corner. Yeah. There we go, finding someone who's on track. Dominic Ingle hasn't set a time yet. I expect him to be up there, Luke, after last week. He was
Definitely.
He was a man on a mission, wasn't he, in that second stint?
Definitely. I think he's going to be very strong this week. I think we've had some insights that he is up there this week from some of the drivers did say he's one to watch for tonight, but obviously I don't want to jinx him.
Yeah,
but
that's it now, commentators, curse.
That's it, last now. But yeah, I would expect him top 10, if not top 5 this week.
Absolutely. Interesting he's gone out now with only 55 seconds to go. It must just be a feeler for the track conditions. He must be feeling very confident if he's not put any times in.
Or just give us a show, he knows we watch.
I am just looking through the leaderboard to see if there are any surprises as to who's up there. We've got Michael Mooney, aka Mr. Methison. That Mercedes seems to be so much better this season. Michael and Paul collectively last race having a really good result compared to previous seasons and previous races gone by. Good to see Mr. Heaton in P11 back with us. He was missing last week. Usual suspects in the midfield who could easily creep in, you know, with your Lloyd Reeds, your Scott Balseelys. Interesting.
A new driver in 14th.
Yes, very, very good shout. Be interesting to see what they come up with this evening. In a McLaren with, by all accounts, according to our telemetry there. I'm wondering what type of car suits this track. Oh, ooh. There's something we could need to look out for, Dougie. Pit lane. I mean, the drivers won't really need to pit with it being a sprint race, but let's say someone has a drive-through penalty, as we've already mentioned. Could catch a few drivers out that if they're not really... as Dominic Ingle goes for a nice 180 there in the pits. Some of the drivers could get caught out by that pit entry.
Yeah, it seemed to catch Dom out there, didn't it?
Definitely.
Unless he just didn't care and he was just throwing it into the pits, I don't know, but
I mean,
it certainly seemed like it caught him out.
My thinking on that is no one's really going to have bothered practicing coming into the pits because it's a race where we don't need to pit. Exactly. So if someone picks up a penalty like a drive-through, is that potentially going to cause damage for someone going into the pits if someone does something as silly as what Dominic did there?
As the saying goes, expect the unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, here we go. Shout out for shootout, I should say, for qualifying. Yep. We'll ride on board with Bart Tonks. Had a bit of a torrid time last week at Donny. He did show promise though in that Ferrari, and he definitely showed promise at the end of last season. Is this someone, Dougie, who could surprise us with a podium tonight?
Yes, is simple answer to that. I think Tonks is one of these people who randomly just appears on a podium. You don't really know when he's going to show up, but he does show up on a podium when he decides to.
Agreed, mate. Absolutely agreed. Especially in a race like this where anything could happen. This is this could be a very, very good night for Bartongs. Another one of the guys there, obviously no one set any time, so it kind of just defaults at the minute. Kevin Dehaan really impressed us, a newcomer to the league. Probably was a contender for driver of the race last week. But be very interesting to see how that Porsche A handles in the wet and B handles at a track that doesn't necessarily scream power specific. I'm hoping to see a good result from the number 41 and the number 3 Porsches this evening.
Could it be a handful around here in the wet, especially as well?
Yeah, I mean, it is naturally an oversteery car, but some drivers prefer that. I know I personally prefer that. Out of all the cars in this game, the Porsche is my favourite to drive. But that's just purely because of my driving style. Whether you want that in the wet, usually you want a little bit of oversteer so that you're not missing every single apex. But if the car's just rotating on you, it becomes undrivable. Right, Bartongs, starting a lap. I don't know if you want to talk us through this lap, Dougie, or if you want to just sit back and commentate with me. It's entirely up to you.
I just need to clear my throat, and I don't want to cough on stream, so I'm just going to mute myself quickly and cough.
No problem, bud. I'll tell you what then, I'll ride on board with him. As I cycle through the cameras, bear with me. There we go, that's a lot better. Right, let's try and get a driver eye view. I think that's the best we're going to get. So, we're at the start of the lap, just going past the Sector 1 beacon, and we're building up to one of the many chicanes here at Zolder. Speaking with the guys, it's a case of trying to be aggressive, but not too aggressive over those bumps. We did mention that a couple of the crests, like the one Bart's just rode over there, could catch a few drivers out. You can just see how pedestrian it is through here. But Bart taking a fair chunk of curb there and running over the little speed bumps that guard the apex.
He's got a good bounce on that as well.
He did, didn't he? He did. So, this is the second of the crest. You can hear there how loose the car got. That could catch a few guys out in the race on fuel loads. As we're building up into the latter part of the laps now. So easy to throw away a lap in that hairpin there. And this final chicane before coming onto the pit straight. So, as we come now into the latter stages of the lap, a bit more sensible on the curbs there, no speed bumps taken, very easy to rotate the car on traction through there, and Bartongs is going to come across the line for a P2 lap, very nice.
And that seems steady as well, that didn't seem like he's put 100% into that lap either, I would say.
I thought that as well,
could be
Doug.
wrong.
No, I completely agree.
I would guess maybe a banker lap?
It could be. I unfortunately didn't catch the lap times that people were doing in practice, but I think a 41.1, that'll definitely come down, but to be... Go on, Luke, what are you going to say, mate?
I was going to say, if he's only, he's close to Kazatarash and he was similar in practice, so you can only assume it's a reasonable lap to be a banker lap, or in general he's a fast lap anyway if he's up there with Kazatarash. Yeah,
definitely, and I mean, we've got a couple of the fast guys up there anyway, like, look, I mean, Dom's P3, we've got Adam in P6, all about 8 tenths away. Yeah, so it seems like it's quite a good time. We'll see if we can catch someone else. There's Mr. Prescott. I don't think he's on a particularly good lap, so we'll find somebody else. Graham Morris, P10 now, as Beaton or Betten. Still don't quite know how to pronounce that surname. Apologies, my friend. Moves into P2 in the McLaren. If I can catch an onboard with him, there we go. Go back one. Excellent. Right. A 141.1 as Casa Tarash goes and beats that with a 40.4. That's a fantastic lap.
And Kingston comes and appears below.
Yes,
what a surprise.
Yes. It's usual. It's already becoming usual suspects at the top of this leaderboard.
Foster again. There you go.
Yeah. So it seems like it's going to be a case of... I feel like it's going to be a case of, I should say, filling up the car and just doing as many laps as you can until you don't find any more time. And right as I say that, Kasatarash pits and completely blows my theory wide open.
I also just wanted to say, when we're saying usual suspects, we don't mean that in a boring way. We mean that as in it's going to be exciting because it's the usual suspects coming in the top all the time.
Yeah,
So it looks like it's going to be a scrap for the championship this season. Don't want to speak too soon, but it looks that way already.
it does. It definitely feels like there's 5 or 6 guys capable of winning every single week, and that's 100% what we want to see. And I mean, you can always go and watch last week's race at Donington because that was an absolute spectacle for the opening stint. So we are 8.5 minutes left of qualifying. Track conditions, as you can tell, very poor. Just looking at the temperature there, it's not exactly warm. 18 degrees, air temp and track 21, so not fantastic.
It's not warm enough to put my bikini on anyway.
No, it's definitely not sunbathing weather, is it?
No, definitely not. Maybe swimming might be more suitable.
Now, Beaton, who we're riding on board with, was going to be one of my outside suspects for race 2 because new to this season, the top 5 in race 1 will not qualify. So, judging from last week and what we saw, I don't think he quite has the pace to challenge for the top 3. So I think if he finishes 6th or 7th and then gets a good qualifying in the second qualifying session, he's definitely going to be up there for a win or even a podium. But it all depends on how this opening stint goes.
And also, just to note as well, we have been giving a heads up of you can't purposely drop yourself from 5th to 6th as well. That's being monitored.
Yes, absolutely. That is a very, very valid point. We will be trying to catch things on this recording, you know, just if we notice anything that the drivers don't necessarily see. Because a couple of times last season, we're not saying that this happened, but there was a couple of instances where we sort of jokingly put our tinfoil hats on and said, oh, has he dropped out of the top 3 positions to gain a better position in race 2, blah, blah, blah. We won't bore you with the details, but this season it's the top 5. Last season it was the top 3 who could not qualify. And I believe, Luke, there is a slightly new format. Now, I couldn't quite wrap my head around it, and I'm sort of hoping that you could have, because I think we might see it come into action tonight.
Yes, I will. Let me just double check. I'll get it up on here so I don't get it wrong.
Okie dokie, bud.
Here we go. So, as I said that. I've lost it. Where's it gone? Ah, it's. So I've been told people may be moving around within the leagues. I've been told Kingston is, who's a rookie, has one win and most likely be excluded from that league this week and be promoted up. And then there's a few other guys to watch. Basically, depending on some of the outcomes of tonight, we could see a few changes in who's in what kind of, not league I suppose, but what championship. And go away. So Rookie League is Baltic Bronze League. All rookies are in at the start on any driver's second top 10 finishes will be excluded. AM League, all drivers are entered but excluded after 3 top 8 finishes. So that's the AM League, sorry, AM League. Try and wake up, Luke.
Not to be confused with the PM League.
Yeah, don't be confused with PM League. Is that Prime Minister League, that one? Oh, no, I'm joking.
Oh, the dad jokes have started already this week.
So yeah, so I'm trying to get my head around it now. Rookie League, all rookies are in at the start, so everyone is entered into that, and any drivers finishing a top 10 twice will be excluded. Going to AM League, you'll be excluded from that after 3 top 8 finishes. Okay. So we could see a few people become excluded based on them rules. I might be totally wrong, but I'm sure I'll be corrected if I am wrong. I'm trying to read it trying to condense paragraphs into a sentence to make it simple, but you never know.
Oh.
So yes, Kingston has been a name what's been dropped or as potentially moving championships due to obviously his performance.
Okay.
Which is never a bad thing.
No, and I think it's probably deservedly so as well, judging from what we saw last week. it certainly showed pace in the latter parts of last season. Obviously, we have touched on this previously, but Alex Kingston joined fairly late on. I think he joined around Alton Park, which might have been the third last round, somewhere around there. And he showed pace right off the bat, so he is technically a rookie, but we know that he's not on the rookie level, nor is he really on any of the other levels. He's up there right at the top, as you can see, P1. And guess who is in second place?
I was just going to come on to a discussion point, actually, what I thought from what came from last week. I think Adam has actually felt, I think he'll come into this race slightly less confident than usual, and I think he's actually going to realise he's going to have to pull his socks up a bit because he's got some competition behind him. I think more. Obviously, he had competition the last couple of seasons, not saying he just walked it, but I think he's got stronger competition where I think there's a bit of nervousness about what's going to happen, I think.
Yeah, there's a bit more uncertainty, isn't there, on how the season's going to play out. It's not necessarily a case of trying to be consistent. It's going to be a case of I have to get a result this evening. I have to push, which obviously can lead to some more mistakes. And we've not seen that yet from Adam, so I think it'll be really good for us and really interesting, sort of personally, for me to see how he copes with that pressure.
Definitely.
I keep seeing yellow flags pop up every now and again, but I don't necessarily know why. I think it might be for drivers stopping and going back to the pits.
I think so. I think I've seen the driver stopping and the yellow flag appear, to be fair.
Yeah, it's just the way the game works. So for some people who may not know, again, apologies if people already know this, but in order to quickly go back to the pits, you have to come to a complete stop, and then you can return to the garage. As the marshal just casually had a moon flag there, it just wasn't even waving. And I tell you what, Luke, look who's in P2 now, and look how close that is at the top.
Wow. Because again, I was just going to say again about Foster. I think he's one of these where pressure only motivates him, I think, as well, because from what I heard last week, he thrives under pressure. Actually, if someone's behind him, he just knows he's got to translate that into pace, and I think he does that very well, to be fair.
No, absolutely. I agree with you 1000%. As we flick into the off-board camera of Alan Davis. Now, this one has surprised me as he goes P11. That's much better. That's exactly where I expected him to be.
It doesn't surprise you now.
It doesn't surprise me now. I'm quite happy to see how close everyone is. The top 10 within a second there. That's amazing. Well, I suppose you could say top 11. It's going to be really close. You can see there's probably about 3 or 4 groups there. The top 4 probably, I suppose you could extend that down to Bart. The top 5 all within half a second, 6/10 of each other. And then probably from Kevin DeHaan all the way down to Alan. You're looking at a group there. Maybe it's even Michael. I feel like this is going to be one of those nights, Luke, where it's going to be so critical to not make a mistake. Because I feel like if you do, it's not a case of you lose 1 or 2 positions. You could lose about 5 or 6, judging by how close everyone is.
Well, if you look at that, if you look down to Fairhaven in 20th, it's 2.6 seconds down there. Obviously, I know it's qualifying, but if you translate that onto the track, you can lose 2.6 seconds by going off very, very easily. I'm not saying it's going to stay that consistently close, but that just shows the pace what will be going around the track. So, obviously, you're not going to lose 20 places, but you're going to lose a bunch, like you were saying.
Absolutely, mate. I couldn't agree with you more. Not too sure what's happened with Shepherd there down in last place. 6.5 seconds off the lead does not reflect the pace of that man.
That second mover though, Arnold into 8th.
I tell you what, that's a very good starting position for Rich and Alan as well. P8 and P12, I think we'll collectively be happy with that. Much better than
last
week.
Think this is not mean to come across rude or offensive, but I don't think Arnold needs to be battling with Kevin DeHaan, because I think the guys above have got that out and out pure pace, and I think if Arnold can just maintain that position, I think if I was him, I'd be very happy with an 8th tonight.
No, definitely.
And talking of the devil,
has he just joined the Discord?
He's just joined us in our comms box.
Ah, very kind of you, sir. How are you doing this evening, Rich? Is everything good?
Yeah, we are doing pretty well, mates. We're a bit wet, a bit soggy. Someone opened the heavens, and well, here we are. But no, we're doing all right, boys. How are you getting on?
Not too bad.
Fine, actually. So far so good. Just getting used to things in the comms box. It's very strange controlling all this myself.
Keeping Mike's seat warm for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to come back because he can do so much better than I am.
Oh, bless you. Well, no, top box boys for carrying on and giving it a go. We owe you one for that. It's great news.
Yeah, we try. So, P8, much better than last week, Rich. What's the difference this week? Is it the conditions?
I think we and Alan are turning into slight wet maestros, I must admit. We seem to do really well in the dodgy conditions, so I'm going to put a little bit down to that. At practice, I wasn't that quick, but I think it's just with the setup that I've got, probably more towards not a drench setup, like a medium wet setup. And with all the cars going around, once the dry line appeared, it was just, bundles of time were coming off every lap. So, yeah, well happy with 8th. Hopefully, we might be able to progress from there. But, yeah, who knows? This is going to be a tough one because the spray is horrendous.
Yeah, you'll see when the recording gets uploaded tonight. I mean, I've just flicked to a camera here. Looking down the start-finish straight, and it looks like something from the 60s. It looks like there's a film grade on the camera. Yeah, so I really feel your pain on that one. And you answered my question there with dry lines. We were a little bit unsure here in the comms box if that would actually happen tonight, just with how heavy the rain is.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's consistent. So the rain's always falling, so it's not a dry line as such, but there is certainly a line that gets quicker. I mean, the puddles disappear, which is the main thing. I mean, we were in practice when there was only one or two of us, and there were just lakes everywhere, and you just couldn't work out your braking point. So it was pretty horrendous. But no, with a few cars going around, it gets quicker. I wouldn't say it's a dry line; it's just a less wet line. But yeah. There we go. I'm not sure how much that's going to come into play because I'm going to put a bet on there's going to be a lot of people getting damaged tonight.
Yeah,
this is going to be very slippy.
We noted as well.
If I can just
go on, Luke. Yep, absolutely. Jump right in.
I was just saying to Aaron, obviously you're in position 8. If I was you, I would probably sit tight and see what happens. Or you're going to be looking to go forwards past.
No, 100%. I mean, I am quick already around here. I know that if I can keep my nose clean for 2 laps and sit where I am, then I'm happy just to get a bit of space, get a dry line going, get used to the spray. Essentially, unless you're on the front row now, we're all going to get bogged down. I think that Kingston and Casa Terratash at. Sorry if I completely pronounced that wrong, I'm sure it is. But those guys on the front row, I mean, they're likely to disappear, to be honest, because no one else can see a thing. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But no, my plan, like you say, Dougie, is sit where I am, stay as close to 8th as I can, and just try and keep it clean for a few laps and see where I end up.
20 seconds.
Sounds like a good plan because that's what I would do.
Yeah, well, it must be good. If Dougie does it, that's where we are. Yeah.
If a commentator suggests it must be good.
Always ask yourself, what would Dougie do? That's the
new hashtag trending on Twitter tonight.
Also, just to bring in, Adam has also joined us in a comms box as well.
Excellent.
Hello, lads.
Hello.
Great. Can I just say, great lap, Rich.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. It all came together towards the end, which is nice. But no, cheers, man. Well happy.
Excellent. Adam, a bit of a surprise to not see you on pole. It's weird.
I think I had it in me. I messed up the last corner a couple of times, and then on that last lap, I was just pushing just that little bit too much and couldn't get it.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness, I can't see a thing.
I was just about to say, how's that spray, boys?
Not too bad for me.
Yeah, you're right. Jesus. Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Well, I tell you what, the top 3 absolutely, they were separated by barely anything in qualifying, and one thing in general, the field spread doesn't look that huge. One of the things that myself and Dougie noticed was if there's going to be a mistake that happens, it might not necessarily be 2 or 3 places you lose. It could be 5, 6, 7, depending on how close everyone is. So it looks like consistency, as ever, but more critically tonight is going to play a major part in this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
If you boys want some inside knowledge, we did notice that if for whatever reason someone has to go in the pits, it looks ridiculously tricky to slow down. We watched Dom Ingle have a very embarrassing moment on stream, so that'll be in the YouTube video. Sorry, Dom. Yeah, just I think that might catch a few guys out, as well as just like we were mentioning earlier. If you move slightly off the line, it sounds like it's going to be absolute hell. So overtaking could be extremely, to pardon my French, could be extremely ballsy tonight.
Yeah, I think it's just seeing if people fall off the track. As these two, I don't think they were in front of me, but race 2 is going to be very interesting.
Who knows?
It
Yeah,
will.
this is. I'm salivating at the concept. It's going to be a wonderful race.
Have a good one, lads. I'm going to jump off and get going for this.
Yep,
Appreciate you hopping
absolutely.
in.
Good luck, gents.
All the best. See you on the other
Take it
side.
easy.
Good luck, lads. Well, there you go. Some drivers' insights, and it sounds like it's going to be an interesting one.
It does, and I suppose that we did forget to mention that obviously with the top 5 not qualifying, how tricky is it going to be, Dougie, to claw your way back in these conditions?
I've totally ignored you, but Ballast is on tonight as well, no?
Yes, it is. We will address that very shortly because we are going to go green very soon. Now, is starting on the racing line going to be important here? Kingston and Casatarash with the clearest view of turn 1, but Casatarash is going to be more on the racing line depending on how this starts. We will be going green very quickly, and we are green. It is go in Zolder, and Kingston looks to have held the inside line, but Casatarash with a much grippier racing line there has to just tuck in and settle for P2. A couple of cars 3 wide in the background there, but we'll stay with the battle for the lead as we go into the tricky winding part. Probably the most arguably difficult area of traction tonight. Could be really easy to lose the rear end. So, seems pretty straightforward there. We've got Kingston still in P1, Casatarash P2, Adams stayed P3, Beaton P4, Beakhouse after that.
Davis took a huge off, by the way.
Oh, was there?
I seen him on a map in the middle of the grass area, and he's now 21st. So
Oh,
I assume
no.
that was Davis.
That is not good at all. Adams, apologies, the timing boards have caught up. Adam Foster P4. So your top 3 is Casatarash. It's Kingston, Casatarash, Beaton, followed by Foster, Tonks, Beakhouse. We have Rich Arnold gaining a position into P7, Kevin DeHaan P8, Dominic Ingle P9, Lloyd Reed P10. As Ingle starts dropping down the order, that could be an incident for Dom. Let's see if we can catch up to that. We'll go back on board. Must have had a little spin or a little mini moment, we should say. Apologies again tonight, we don't have the replay function. And if we do, I just sadly don't know how to use it. So you could see replays in race 2, but for race 1, I do apologise, you won't see it tonight. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go for it on board. Let's see how bad the spray is tonight. Wow. He's already gone for clean air there. That is horrendous. Oh my god, Luke, I don't know what to say. How bad does that look? Oh, Dom could make a move here though. We'll flick back to the outside camera. He's going to... Oh, I thought he was going to sweep right round the outside there. Is he going to get the switchback though? Oh, it's very close. He's done it.
He's done it, he's gone wide.
He's done it. Oh, that's unlucky that for Fairweather, I think it was, in the BMW. Nothing, love. Nothing... Well, I don't know the saying actually. Nothing ventured, nothing gained is what I was going for. Oh, that one. I think I just merged the two of them.
And also for reviews information, Kingston has 30 kilograms of ballast.
Okay.
Beaton or Beaton, depending on how you say that, is 25 kilograms of ballast. Foster with 20 kilograms of ballast, and Ingle with 15 kilograms of ballast.
Thank you very much for that, Dougie. Just trying to find the gaps out and see if we can pick off any battles where the guys are close together. Already looks like Alex Kingston's got a half decent lead, you know, 1.3 seconds over Casatarash in the Ferrari. That's pretty healthy. If you can keep it like that for the next half an hour, you know, that the job done really. I can't really see the pair of these guys making too many mistakes. So does Casatarash have the pace in him to bring that back? I mean, we'll soon find out, but I don't know. We know how fast Kingston is in that Aston Martin, don't we?
Definitely. And pardon a pun, you could see Kingston sail across the line, seeing as it's wet.
Oh no! Oh, we started as we mean to go on, boys and girls, and aliens, and everybody else in the whole world that's watching this stream. And I'm just trying to pick out a good battle that we could maybe have a little look at. It seems to be that Bart Tonks is on the back of Adam Foster, so I'm going to try and pick that out.
And you've got Mooney and Dehaan and Morris as well. They all look close-ish.
Yes, that's not a bad shout. So it looks like we've got a couple of packs already there. You'll be able to see on the track map.
Oh, someone's gone wide in the background there.
I've gone the wrong way on the camera.
Well, big house.
Oh, it's a big moment. It's Beaton and Beakhouse. It's the pair of them. Oh,
and it's
man.
not in a good spot there, right on the edge.
And this just proves what we were saying. Like, look how far they've dropped down the order.
Once they go across the timing line, we'll truly see where we are. 16th, it says in the bottom right, actually.
Oh.
So the bottom right.
Yeah, it does. That
updates faster than the other one.
That's right. Yeah, I do remember that. It's all coming back to me now slowly. Oh,
there's a song about that, isn't there?
I'm pretty sure there is. We'll try not to get done for.
I won't sing it because we'll get done for copyright.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, in that case, then our battle. Oh, Beaton's gone really wide. You've got to wonder if that's damaged. Then.
Lost your head. Or slightly lost his head as well. Maybe, I don't know.
Could be, bud.
I'm sure I only seen one go off, and I think by the time one's gone off, we flip back and there's another one. I don't know if it's basically two of the same mistake or get tangled up. I didn't see that.
I think what's happened is, so I'm right, obviously we're following Beaton and Lloyd's behind Beaton, so I wonder if Beaton's gone off because he was obviously towards the front and Lloyd's just collected him in the midfield. I did think it was Wes, purely because of the way that the timing boards work, but it looks like it's Lloyd. That was someone else there in a BMW pulled off.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if we can find who that was. It's Scott Balsini. He was in the pits though, so I don't know if he had a moment earlier on. There's a battle side by side ahead. Yep, that is Alan Davis. Oh, he's really slipped down in the Honda because he was about P11, P12, wasn't he?
He had a massive moment at the start, didn't
it could be.
Oh,
is that Lloyd Reed? There. I think that was Lloyd Reed.
Again?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Not having a fantastic evening in the Audi is Lloyd Reed. Oh man, not what you want. This is
probably the worst race to not have the replays because we're not seeing the embarrassing moments in full action.
I know. I'm so sorry. I am actually sorry. I think there is a control for it, but I just don't know the hotkey.
It's fine, don't worry. We shall describe your moment with our voices.
Yeah, we will endeavour to still bring you the viewing pleasure. If I could try and fix it for race 2, I promise I will, but just for now, we're going to have to rely on how close people look on the timing boards. I'm interested in this battle for P3 though, Dougie. It looks like this is probably going to be... I mean, all of these guys are going to have a reverse grid, so it's more going to be a battle of... I feel like, here's a theory. Time for the tinfoil hats. So...
Cool.
Obviously, last season with the top 3, starting first, last, second, last, and third last, there's not really much in it. If you finish first, you're starting at the very back. If you finish third, you're starting directly in front of the guy who finished first. I wonder if finishing P5 is going to make a hell of a difference getting through the traffic compared to like winning the race. Because think about it, you're in front of 4 other cars there. If you can get a good start and the guys behind you don't, you've almost got like a 6-7 car gap before anything's even started. Whereas last season they were all really close together and they followed each other through. So I'm quite interested to see how that pans out. I
And
think
also, I'd like to take credit. The strategy I've given Rich Arnold there, it looks like it's paid off because he's got like a nice little gap. Clean air in front, it looks like.
yeah, he won't be getting affected by the spray, which should, in theory, allow him to lap a little bit quicker with a little bit more confidence. So let's just monitor the gap and see if he can cruise onto the back of Wes Beakhouse.
Because Heaton's 2.6 seconds, and then Bakehouse is 4.3 ahead of Rich, so he's got no one to battle really, so he can keep his head in the game.
No, absolutely. And you like to think that you can sort of build a bit of consistency on that as well, because when there's no one bothering you, you're not busy looking in your mirrors or busy trying to, like, you're not really distracted, are you, is what I'm trying to say.
And as Rich was saying, at the minute the track I don't think it's ever going to be optimum tonight, but it's not at its best tonight, and as Rich was saying, he only gains pace over the race. So if he's got this gap now, could we see Rich really gain more time from the gap behind? So Heaton in that case.
Yeah, definitely a good shout. I tell you what, Luke, Adam's sort of dropping off the back of Casataraj very quickly. You know, we're half an hour in, so we've had 10 minutes of racing, and the lap time seems to be around the 1 minute 40 mark. So let's say roughly a very rough count of about what 5. It says at the top anyway. 5 laps. That was going to be a very good guess. 5 laps, and we're already 4.4 seconds off. So, I mean, some very quick maths coming in here. We could be looking at about 16 seconds off the lead if the pace keeps on going that way. Well, off the back of Casataraj anyway, who himself is dropping off the back of Kingston. So it seems
the only
to be
variable what could disagree with you is maybe Foster's set up the car to suit once the drier line comes potentially.
That was going to be exactly what I was about to suggest, mate. I think
great minds think alike.
That's as you are certainly correct, good sir. That's the only thing that I can plausibly put my mind on. I just can't see why he would be that slow unless the McLaren just doesn't suit this track.
Yeah, true. Because actually, if you look at the grouping of McLarens, it seems to be 14 odd downwards, except from Morris.
Yeah, Morris having a pretty decent night in the McLaren there, P9. I'm just trying to see if there's any surprises.
Kevin DeHaan in 12th is a surprise for me.
Yeah, especially after last week. That is a surprise. I expected the Porsches to be a little bit better here, so I wonder if rain is the Achilles heel. I'm just trying to think of how well Adam did last season at Suzuka, because that was that was a shower, literally a shower. It was complete downpour. I'm trying to remember who actually won that. I can't remember.
Nice little battle here.
Yes, I'm glad I stuck with Dom. He's gonna see. This is where it gets tricky, Luke, because if he wants to make that move stick, he needs to launch it up the inside. But then that totally risks going onto the puddles. So it's gonna. I feel like I feel like it's going to take a lot of bravery to pull off some overtakes tonight.
Yeah, as you were saying, if you go offline, it's one in general on a dry circuit. Overtaking is not a risk-free thing anyway. Never mind on a wet circuit going offline and trusting the other driver as well.
Oh, is that a drive-through for Shepard? That could be track limits.
It is indeed. Tell you what, I'm doing well with my predictions tonight.
Yeah, you are. That is absolutely appalling. That on-point shot, I feel sorry for any driver running within 2 seconds of anyone.
Foster said it's not too bad at the front, we'd be interested to see what it's like with only a small bunch of cars.
I tell you what, should we go to Prescott, who's behind Beaton, and we can compare actually?
Yeah.
Look at how much clearer that is.
Yeah. It's actually, I think it's more of an advantage by having that gap and not being as close to. Obviously, you want to be close to the guy ahead of you, but I actually don't think you do at this point tonight. Unless you've really got severe pace over him, I don't think it's worth sitting behind someone tonight.
No, you're absolutely right. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be one of those nights where it's just grit your teeth, get through it as best as you can.
And I think, as again, I'm sure Rich will take offence, but like Rich is the only point in Rich trying to sit behind Bakehouse and trying to overtake him when we know Bakehouse has got that pace. So is the only point Rich potentially impacting his whole race to sit in Bakehouse's spray make his life difficult. I don't know.
No, exactly. It's. I think. If you, I tell you what, Luke will spin it. If it was you personally, what would you do?
If I was catching, say if I was Arnold and I was catching a big house,
Yeah.
and go spray, and I felt I could get the overtake done over the next couple of laps, then it's worth it. But if I know it's one of them battles where it's just gonna be sat behind waiting for opportunity, I might as well just drop back, save the tyres a little bit as well, slight advantage, and just wait for him to fall off the track. Like Foster said, he's going to be people falling off the track, so is there any need to sit and spray? One, because how it's going to impact you driving, and then two, it's always a chance you're going to fall off anyway.
No, do you know what? Couldn't agree with you more. I think we'd both do the same thing there. Speaking from experience, being stuck in spray, it is just
Disgusting.
the worst thing in the world, isn't it?
Yeah. I hate. It's one of them. It feels like you know what you're doing, you know where your breaking point is, but you still feel like you're guessing.
Yeah, the element of doubts makes you second guess everything you do.
Did I brake there last time? Can I brake a bit further? Actually, is that a bit early? And then you start doubting everything, and then you either brake too late, brake too early, then you lose time. Brake too late, you end up in the kitty litter, and then it's downhill from there.
Nope, you are absolutely correct, sir. I tell you what, Dominic
Ooh, battle there,
in the background. Oh, he's around!
Ooh,
he's
contact.
around! Oh, I wonder
That's damage.
That has to be damage. I just wonder how well that's going to go down. I tell you what, Luke, he's gone straight in the pits, Dom. He's gone straight in the pits. That was coming from the turn one, like from turn 1 into 2 and into 3. I was watching him run wide, and I was just thinking, have you picked up a little bit of damage there? I guess that answers our question. Sad to see that, because Dom
was up a bit more damage as well.
He was on a good charge there, wasn't he? And yeah, like
I think he came back from 16th to 10th. I think it was.
That's unlucky. That is a shame. That is someone who I could have seen with a good race 2 result there, but obviously that isn't going to happen.
Is that
now.
a pit or retirement?
I think it'll be a pit, purely because you can stop and return to the pits, but there's like a minimum time that you end up stationary in the pits. It's kind of like a vehicle recovery, like at Le Mans.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he's stuck there waiting.
Dom and Beaton in the pits together. Sadly. Yeah, that
sounds like a love story.
A love story that we sadly don't want to see. Nah, that's a shame, because it was shaping up to be a good 3-way battle between Morris, Dom, and Fairweather there. So
I do think I think, as we were saying before, battles in all that dangerous.
They are. They are, as proven there. Anything can go wrong. If it's from Fairweather's point of view, let's say you see an opportunity like that and you take it. It's in the dry, there might be a 70-30 chance of that going your way, and in the wet it's just completely 50-50, isn't it? Everything's shot out of the window.
He's gone straight across there.
It's Fairweather. Fairweather's gone straight on. Struggling, perhaps a little bit of damage from the Dominic Ingle incident.
Mixture of both, I think.
I'm going to try and go on board with Bart Tonks, because he looks very close to the back of Mr. Foster. So we'll follow this battle.
I think you can put your shopping in his office.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to use that. Oh, you're on fire tonight, Dougie.
I'm on form.
Have you been practicing? Is that what you've been doing at work?
I've been sat on my computer just watching a stream back and doing my own commentary over it.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm going to flick all the way back to ZP. I need to find out his actual name, because it's just initials.
Zuber.
Oh, of course, Zuber, isn't it? Yeah.
Zuber.
Ah, yes. He was within a 10th of Prescott. And he's got in front of him, as I've just seen Prescott's Mercedes there. So we didn't catch it in time, but up into P13. So looking good for Zuber or Zuber. Can you remember where he finished last week, Dougie, or not?
I think he was. I feel like I remember hearing his name a lot last week, so I feel like he was around mid-pack area.
I think he was,
so
wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was around Davis, Arnold, that kind of area last week. Essentially, I think.
We'll just put "we think" over the top of that as our excuse.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you take me to court, I said I think.
I tell you what, it's looking very juicy. There's a lapped car there. I think that might be Shepherd in the McLaren. Oh, fair weather with the drive-through.
Drive-through.
I tell you what, that doesn't surprise me with the amount of cut corners and like just wandering off track a little bit that we briefly saw. So justice, I suppose you could say, for Dominic Inkle after their little coming together.
Yeah, slightly.
I'd say, look how close this is though at the front. Wes, Bart and Adam all separated by seconds. Well, probably about 1.3, 1.4 seconds. I'm going to flick to Bart. Flick to Bart Tonks. As you say, Luke, it is juicy. I feel like this might be a question of when, not if, Bart gets past Adam. He just seems to be able to take much nicer lines.
Again, as you say, McLaren might not necessarily go wet in this track. Because you look at Kazatrash, he's in a Ferrari as well, and he's in second, and he's got a 4-second gap. So if you go off facts there, if you just go, Ferrari's 4 seconds ahead, then maybe the Ferrari is quicker.
I wonder, due to the track doesn't seem particularly bumpy, but I know that the curves are quite big, and obviously the McLaren doesn't like curves. But then again, in theory, the Ferrari shouldn't. So it might just be the way that obviously a settle course does updates, and that might have just been how the BOPs affecting the McLarens this season. But you can just hear how much they have to lift over the crest. But yeah, as you say, it seems to be that the McLarens are struggling slightly tonight. Shepherd already being lapped, beaten in the pits, by the looks of it, either retiring or retired.
Also, just quickly shout out, Heaton in 7th.
Yeah, excellent performance. And we've seen glimpses of this last season. He's doing very well, obviously not necessarily making his debut, but making his season debut tonight. He missed last week. P7, yeah, good spot, Dougie, good spot. That could be someone to watch out for in race 2.
And looks, I don't want to... Is he 1.5? Yeah, he's 1.5 seconds away from Rich as well. I'm sure that gap's coming down.
Yeah, but we'll keep an eye on that, because, we were saying that Rich Arnold was moving away from people behind him, but it seems as if that gap's come back down, so might have to start looking in his mirrors.
And the gap to Bakehouse has gone up, I think.
Yeah, it was about I want to say 4, yeah. So we'll have to just keep a little monitor on that. Oh, bad!
No.
He saved it. He sadly drops the position to Wes Beakhouse.
Fair enough for the saver.
Yeah, very well indeed. Now I wonder if that.
I wonder what the gap is now.
I think we'll see in a second, mate. I'm just wondering how much of the pressure has just been lifted off Adam's shoulders.
Yeah. I think he's feeling the relief there.
He's 2.4 behind Wes now, so that's confidence completely drained, isn't it?
There you go. As we were saying in qualifying, 2 seconds lost on that gap from that incident there. And now only 4.9 seconds.
Back to what it was then, really, wasn't it, with Rich Arnold there. I'll flick out of the onboard camera and we'll go back to the cameras of off-board view. I tell you what, really happy for Rich. Shame for Alan, hasn't quite clicked the same this evening, but we saw last season in the Ferrari that it was actually the other way around, wasn't it? It was Alan who was pretty capable of outscoring Rich, so probably a refreshing dynamic in the team, but not one that Alan's probably a fan of. Oh, that's bad! It's the wrong way around.
So Rich is on for 5th then?
Oh, Bart P9 now. Oh no! And this
so he's gone from 5th to, let's see, this is what we were saying in quali. So what's good? Where's he gone to 9th?
I suppose.
So 5th to 9th, where you have 4 places.
I suppose really he was P4, wasn't he? Dougie?
Oh yeah, P4, sorry, yeah.
And now he's P9, so 2 mistakes in 2 laps for Bart, and this is what we were saying of just like how little the field is spread by. You make one mistake and it could be the difference between.
And
Go on,
Oh,
Luke.
go on, sorry.
No,
I'm getting too
sorry.
excited. And Bart recovered quickly from both of them mistakes as well. So that's probably the best outcome of a mistake, really.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Kevin DeHaan and that Shepherd a lap down. I thought that might have been Dan Stevens. So probably worst case scenario there, he was going to be P10, but that's just not ideal. And that comes back to what we were saying before about consistency and he who makes least mistakes sort of coming out on top tonight.
Yeah, brilliant. I think Arnold will be made up with 5th, but I think there'll be part of him where he'll be gutted that he didn't finish 6th so he could get that pole start on the second race.
Yeah, that's true. So let's keep an eye on those timings because Michael Heaton is 1.9 behind, so that gap has gone up ever so slightly. It was 1.5.
So here you go, Rich. If you want to just let go of the throttle, Heaton's really speeding up here, isn't he, actually, Aaron?
Rich, Mike Heaton is faster than you. Do you copy? I tell you what, Doug, I'm wondering, does Bart Tonks have a bit of an issue because he's not really pulling away from Kevin DeHaan?
I would say it's the opposite way around. DeHaan is gaining.
This is surprising me. This is really surprising me, and I think maybe this is more a compliment on Kevin DeHaan of just sort of not necessarily qualifying well, but seems to be putting in good lap times. Let's see. It doesn't. There we go. It tells me his last lap time, a 41.2. So if we compare that with the leaders, we're looking at a 40.5, 40.1. So he's not a million miles off the pace, you know. Wes is there with a 40.9. So to be... Go on, Luke.
I might be totally wrong, but didn't Tonks have consistency issues last season where we was getting to the point where it was like, Tonks, come on.
Yeah, it was a drive through every other race for Bart, and
that was it. Yeah,
that was just down to consistency, and I feel like he could be forgiven for tonight because it is wet.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously it's still a new car, so it's promising. The signs are there again. It's not quite happened for Bart. I think
Bart's the fire needs lighting.
I think if he just keeps his head screwed on now, settle down for the P9, that's not a terrible result, and then just go again in race 2. You know, he's going to be one of the quickest guys. If he was
He'll
running,
be 4th, won't he? He'll start 4th.
Well, in theory, yeah. You know, if the guys qualifying the same order that they finish.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that actually. Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, if he had the pace to be on P4 and arguably faster than Adam, that's almost a guaranteed pole, isn't it?
Definitely, I think Bart would. Well, if you look at anyone else who's in front of Tonks now, yeah, there's no one there I'd put my money on to beat Tonks in qualifying.
Exactly. I mean, he's got to be favourite, unless he decides not to go out for whatever reason.
The only other person who could knock him, if it stays like this, who could knock him off pole for the second race, could be Ingle.
That's not a bad shout. And I tell you what, Dominic Ingle, credit to him, is back out in the race, so that confirms it. Bart's around again! Kevin DeHaan had a little bit of a wobble as well. Oh, man. I think there's enough time.
Is he a puddle
back.
form?
No, but I've noticed both times he's spun there, it's been when he's clattered the curbs. So I wonder if he's just getting a bit excited on the old loud pedal as he's going over the curbs.
Well, there's good potential, to be fair. So have you noticed, was it Tonks in qualifying we noticed who clattered over those curbs as well?
Yeah, just riding on board with him, I noticed that he takes a lot of curve. Like, he takes the speed bumps that guard the inside of the corners, which if you've never driven the cars in this game, is very, very, very brave, especially considering the type of engine in that Ferrari and where it's positioned. So brave choice to be said from Bart Tonks, and I think clearly there's pace in doing it, but in the race there's definitely potential to spin around, and I would
say too brave.
Yeah,
what we've seen.
Typically you dial it back to when you're in the race, and it almost feels like he's not just dialed it back enough, he's still pushing a bit too hard.
I'm sure this is what Mike said last season, where you're saying about not always at 100% and actually going at 98% can save these mistakes. I'm sure I've got deja vu, or unless Mike said this last season, I think when Tonks had his inconsistency issues.
Yeah, I feel like we've definitely spoken about this before.
His percentage of effort, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to what we were saying last week as well about being on the limit and being over the limit.
Over the limit,
yeah. And it seems like he's probably on the limit, touching over the limit, and that's obviously why he's had the mistakes that he's had tonight.
And like in real life, if you're over the limit, especially the speed limit, you get punished.
Yes. Oh, we are all over the dad jokes tonight.
We are
and the
all over them.
one-liners.
The fact is, I've got no excuse because I'm not a dad.
Me neither. Not yet, anyway. Right. We go on board with Mr. Morris in that lovely, sexy blue McLaren. I am a massive fan of that colour. Stands out even in the rain, as does Michael Mooney's Mercedes. This is probably one of the closest battles, barring Wes and Adam in P3 and P4 on track. So I've just been looking at this for a few laps, and the delta goes up and down. So I'm just keen to follow it for a little bit. As Jesus, I've just looked at the time left there. We are just on the short side of 11 minutes remaining. So,
Whereas when you're having fun,
it does, and I mean, regardless of us not being able to sort of look at replays or, you know, Mike usually has the software of analysing incidents when they pop up. I think there's been a fair bit of action, and we seem to have caught some of it, so I'm quite happy with that.
And I think we're using our gift of good gab as well to make up for the bits in between as well.
I hope we are. I just, as long as
Either that or we've just been chatting rubbish and we call it a gift of good gab.
I think that might be how it goes down. Right, I'm just going to do a very quick run through the order because it seems like things are pretty stable, apart from Wes and Adam are very close now. So we'll go aboard with our leader. I'm just going to change the camera a little bit. There we go, as Prescott serves his drive-through. So, in P1, relatively unchallenged, fastest man on track. It's this man, Alex Kingston, in the 77 Aston Martin. Then in P2, we have Kasatarash, our driver of the race last week, doing very good in the 789 Ferrari. Like we say, the Ferrari seems to be a pretty decent car this season. So I don't suspect it'll be the last time we see him flirting with the top two.
And I think Mike mentioned last week as well that Ferrari's had some improvements done through an update as well, so
yeah,
it makes sense.
Exactly, mate, exactly. So hopefully they don't nerf the car during the season, but it seems to be that the season stays the same with updates. The season works around updates is how I should have worded that. So we have Kasatarash in P2, and then a fair bit back we have Mr. Foster, your reigning world champion. I say world champion. Reigning champion is probably better.
He's the reigning champion of the world in FDSR.
Yeah, that's a very good way of analysing it. So then followed closely by Wes Beekhouse in the Lamborghini in P4. I think was Adam a little bit wide there? Don't know if I saw that right.
Slightly out of shape. Yeah, slightly out of shape, I think.
Wonder if he's struggling a little bit with those rear tyres. Keep an eye on that one. So yeah, Wes Beekhouse P4. We've got Rich Arnold in P5, an amazing P5 compared to last week. Just needs to keep it on the black stuff. He's pulling away from this man in P6, Michael Heaton. I think it's Michael. I've said Michael all night, so
it's Matt.
I knew I'd get something wrong tonight. Apologies, Matt. Once it's in my head, it's in my head. So
it's just because Aaron's missing Mike so much. He's just trying to remind himself.
I think that's exactly what it is. So Matt with 2 T's, Matt Heaton in the Monster Energy Lamborghini in P6, making his season debut.
And it's Michael Mooney, I think. Is that where you got confused?
It is Michael Mooney. Under pressure there from Morris in the background. So this is the battle for P7, followed by. Oh, we have jumped into the pits there. Sometimes it does this. There we go. Kevin DeHaan, P9 in the Porsche. So not quite as good as last week, but probably still a result to be happy about. Bart Tonks obviously wiggling his way back to Kevin DeHaan. So there's Bart in P10. You can see there, he's just set a very fast lap of a 39.9. That's up there with Kingston's times. So, the story of what could have been again, as per, sadly. Hopefully, he has a better race too. In P11, we have Dan Stevens. Again, the livery's not loaded. I am terribly sorry.
Good result for Stevens, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Last season's champion for the, I suppose it was the amateurs, wasn't it, really? Like the Pro-Am section. So, last season's champion of the amateurs, Dan in P11. And then we've got Zubba P12, not far behind him in the same shot. Followed by, Michael Mooney with a drive-through. That's going to shift a lot of people up the order. Good news for Bart Tonks, that P10 looks a little less ominous now. So Zubba P12 in the McLaren, as Alan has a nice little corner cut behind him. Hopefully he's not gained too much on the times there. We ride on board next with one of our new guys. I think it's Montanino, not too sure. We will get clarification on
What
that.
you said.
Yeah, we will call it the number 56 McLaren. That is the safe option. Not a bad debut, P14, about midway, so scope to improve, but seems to have kept it nice and consistent and kept it on track. We'll ride on board a little bit longer, just give it some more airtime, because I feel like we've focused a lot on a handful of battles tonight and not necessarily followed some of the other guys. So as we go down the latter stages of the order, I'll call it out and we'll flick to them eventually. So Lloyd Reed, a little bit unlucky early on, had that moment with Dominic Ingle, and then spun him on his own. I think it was in like the turn 3, turn 4 area. Easily done, very easily done in these cars.
I just quickly interrupt. Bakehouse is only half second off Foster.
We will jump back to that then very quickly as I finish off. Excuse me. So we have Lloyd Reed, P15. Prescott in the Mercedes, 16th. Shepherd having a bit of a torrid evening about it. A couple of laps down in 17. And then we've got sort of the guys who've been caught up in incidents. That's Fairweather, Ingle, Balseeley, Beaton and Harrison. I will flick back to Wes Beekhouse now and Adam Foster in the battle for P3. 4 minutes to go. It's absolutely flown by. Luke, have you got any contenders or any thoughts for driving for race 1?
Oh,
To put you on the spot.
My go-to is Arnold, because I think it's nice to see him up there in 5th, especially after last racing and last season. But it's also a really good result for Heaton, and I don't think we've mentioned him too much over the last race, and he was here around last season, wasn't he?
He was. I don't know if he was there for all of last season, off the top of my head, but I definitely recall him being involved in last season. So,
and also Stevens as well. I think great result for Stevens.
Yeah, 3 very, very good shouts. Obviously, Kingston hasn't put a foot wrong in the lead. A 15-second gap now.
That is a good shout as well.
Over you know what is effectively 37 minutes. That's fantastic, isn't it? But yeah, as you say, Rich Arnold, excellent result. I think I'm going to flirt on the side of Rich Arnold, purely because I feel like we kind of expected. I feel bad for saying this because we said this last week, but you kind of expect Kingston, and now you'd expect Kazatarash to be up there as the top guys. So I'm a bit reluctant to give it to Kingston.
If you look at 5, 6, 7, I think all of them are contenders. Arnold, Heaton and Morris, all very good races, all contenders. Kingston for consistency is a contender. Stevens, good contender. I think there's a lot of people today who've shown themselves in this race, and I feel harsh just picking one person. But
I'll tell you what we'll do. In times of doubt, we go to democratic vote. So I think for this race 1, we'll put it to the drivers, purely because.
So should we list off who we want to put forward?
Yeah,
So should we put forward Kingston,
Yep.
Arnold,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yep.
Morris? Yes or no?
Yes, and we'll put forward...
Stevens.
yeah, that's it, and Dan.
Perfect. There you go.
Oh, Adam's gone a little bit wide there. Drive through for Adam Foster. No.
No way.
No way. That's with
That
1
means-
minute 44 remaining. That's a slam dunk. That's easily going to see him drop to about P7.
You've got to hope this doesn't make Adam lose his head for the second race.
Critically though, Dougie, what does that mean? He's not going to finish in the top 5.
No. So that means he can go and get a pole position.
And he's
That's called drive-through.
Oh dear. Get your tinfoil hats, get the popcorn. Oh, poor Ad. That purely, we saw it there. That was just a little driver error and it's cost him big time. I think he'll be annoyed at the mistake, not annoyed at the drive-through.
Yeah, I think he'll be annoyed with himself rather than...
Yeah. Oh man, that's got to burn. That has got to burn. Right, well, we have 47 seconds remaining. I dare say this could be the last lap. I've not heard the announcement from the engineer though, which is a little bit strange, so I'm just going to ride on board with Kingston. I always like to cross the line with the race winner, so just having a little look. Nothing's really changed hugely in the order, obviously other than Adam dropping down the order, so let's see where he pokes himself out, because it doesn't show him as in the pits.
Sixth.
On the fringes,
Seventh.
7th. Is he going to drop any lower? I don't think he will, because Kevin DeHaan was quite a way off Morris. So P7, damage limitation, I guess. That could have been potentially a lot worse. So I think he'll just be sad as the checker flag waves now for Mr. Kingston. Excellent race win, especially after last week as well.
We're going to have to wait for 15 seconds says how good that performance was.
Yeah. So, P2 for Casatarash crosses the line a fair way off Kingston, which probably bodes well for race 2, depending on how well he can get through the pack, Mr. Kingston. Wes, P3, nice podium. Just kept it on the black stuff. That's all you got to do in conditions like this, so you can't fault him. As we're trying to find Rich Arnold. There we go. P4 for Rich Arnold in the end. What a result that is. What a result.
I think he's going to be very, very happy with that result, but also wish he could have done that bit more to get on the podium at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Who else have we got there?
That's not take away from your position, by the way. Very, very well done on 4th position. I think he'll be ecstatic with that.
Agreed, mate. Absolutely agreed. And the 2 Porsches finish in line astern as well. How good of a result is that for Kevin DeHaan and Dan Stevens?
Stevens up into 9th again. More of a reason for nomination.
Bart Tonks as well, interestingly, Dougie, P11. So he ended up actually dropping back again. So I don't know what happened there. That doesn't bode well. Hopefully a little bit more consistency in the second race. So now we just have the lap runners now to cross the line. A very good debut for the number 56 McLaren there, P14. He'll be very happy with that. Dominic Ingle, credit as well for finishing that off. Never easy with damage, is it? So, yep, that's your order, guys.
Do you not need to do something in regards to recording?
Yes, I do. I was just going to very quickly have a little outro, finish things off, and then we'll be back for race 2. So, on screen, as you can see, that was your top 20, barring any incidents that get submitted to the admins. Once again, fantastic result for Kingston. 24 laps of racing there, and it was certainly action-packed. And we will see you again very shortly for race 2. I will end the recording now. Thank you very much, guys.